We're live.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ben Chandler. I'm chair of the Kentucky State Board of Elections, and I want to welcome everybody to our September 24th, 2021 meeting of the State Board. This is, I guess, a special meeting, but it will serve as our regular September meeting. And in order to call the meeting to order, I will have everybody, all the members, introduce themselves, and I think we've got, I'm certain that we have a quorum looking at the folks who are on the call, but I'll start as I see the members. Lynn Lane.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Lane, retired clerk from Ballard County.
Jerry Johnson.
Good morning, Jerry Johnson, member from Franklin County.
Deanna Brangers.
Good morning, Deanna Brangers, member from Jefferson County.
Sherry Whitehouse.
Good morning, Sherry Whitehouse, member Bullitt County.
And Corey Skolnick.
Hello, everyone. Corey Skolnick, member Jefferson County.
And then we've got, of course, our esteemed Secretary of State, Mr. Michael Adams. Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, everybody.
And we are missing two members today, Dwight Sears from Pulaski County and James Lewis from Leslie County, I believe cannot be with us today, but we have a quorum, so we will proceed. And the first item on our agenda is the minutes of August 2021. And I will take a motion to approve those if you all have read them, or any suggestion of amendments if needed.
I'll make a motion. We accept those minutes.
A motion from
Mr.
member
Chairman.
Lane. Do I have a second? Second from member Brangers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Very good. Minutes are accepted and adopted. Next, I'm going to go off the script a little bit. We've got a bittersweet situation on our hands here at the Board of Elections, and that is that our executive director is leaving us. And I was going to let him just go ahead and announce it, but I decided against it. He'll have plenty to say about it here in a second, but I want to first say that Jared Deering has steered us through what may have been the most historic and most difficult election in the history of the Kentucky Board of Elections. And he has done it with aplomb. He has done it, in my view, brilliantly. He had some help from a whole lot of people, including 120 county clerks and a Secretary of State who showed a lot of courage, among other things. But Jared, you were the maestro, my friend. You did a whole lot, and were, I think everybody was very impressed and appreciative of the job you did. And we're going to miss you, my friend. I'm going to let you say a few words, and then we'll open it up if anybody else wants to give you a piece of their mind.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate it. I think you said it best, which is this is very bittersweet. I think let me start by saying this, that working at the State Board of Elections will be the most important job I'll ever have in my life. I'll go on to do other things, I'll contribute in other ways, and I'll go on to other places and serve other communities, but this will be the most important job I'll ever have. And part of that is because of the staff that I've been able to work with at the State Board of Elections. Every single member of the staff, I can't tell you how dedicated they are to the Commonwealth's election systems. It's been a privilege working with this board, specifically this board. Members have come and gone, and many of those members have been incredible people, but this board specifically has done incredible things. This board, if you look at it in conjunction with Secretary Adams and Governor Beshear, has not just led and shown an example to the Commonwealth, but to the whole entire country, that bipartisanship is not dead, that good governance and good policy can be drafted by individuals who have different political philosophies and party affiliations and done extremely well, to the point where, one of the most things I'll ever be proud of in my career is that we got through that general election through the pandemic, and there was not a single reported case of community spread of COVID-19. And so much of that was due to the planning and logistics that we put in. So much of it was due to the idea that you, the members of this board, and Secretary Adams and Governor Beshear were willing to, see that there was something more important here than their own political values, and that was the safety and welfare of this Commonwealth. And a lot of that was up to the 120 county clerks that came to work every single day during a pandemic. They were more often than not the only offices that were open in their county throughout the entirety of that pandemic. And I think that shows their character as well as their staff's character as well. Having said that, this is not a goodbye. This is actually, I get to serve you, this board, this Commonwealth, and the clerks in another capacity. I am taking a job at the Center for Internet Security, also known as CIS. CIS is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that was set up by the government to be able to service state and local and tribal communities in how they protect their digital systems. So all their networks, their computers, their websites. And I have been named the Senior Director of Election Security. And so my job will be to work directly with county clerks, with state officials on how we create best practices for elections. And this is going to be a really good opportunity. I not only get to serve still the Commonwealth, but I now also get to work this larger system of elections throughout the entire country. So, I will say that this is something I said to the clerks through a statement that President Cockrell was kind enough to read for me yesterday. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there in person. But being the executive director, this is not my position. This is a position I hold in trust for the people that come after me. And just as I was given something from Mary Ellen Allen, who served in this role before me, Sarah Ball Johnson before her, George Russell before her, I am hoping that this is not a place where I can now leave and then allow the board to just go into a different direction. It is just another opportunity for leadership to step up in the next phase of the board's life cycle. So I know that I'll be leaving it in good hands, and specifically with this board in guidance with future leadership, will do an incredible job for the Commonwealth. So I've said probably too much, but I just wanted to express my gratitude to each one of you and the time that you've put into this. It means a lot to me.
Very, very nice, Jared, and very heartfelt, and we appreciate it very much. Does any other member of the board, would anybody like to say anything to or about Jared?
I would.
Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every day I walk into the Capitol, past the statue of Abraham Lincoln, and you see him and you think, well, there's the guy who was at the right place at the right time. Jared has definitely been the right person for the right time for us. 2020 wasn't his only crisis. I jokingly tell people I look forward to someday having a non-pandemic election in my term. I hope that happens. Jared's kind of had a similar experience. It's always been something. He came in at a difficult time for our board back in 2017, and that all got resolved, and then it was COVID. So I hope that Jared can move on to something that is non-crisis related someday. But we at the board, I know the governor and I and all the members of the board get praised for our bipartisanship, and that's appropriate. But Jared does that too. Everything that I've done with the governor and with Democratic legislators on the other side from me, Jared has reciprocated that. I routinely get calls from Republican legislators. They have the same confidence and trust in Jared as I have with the Democrats, and that's really special. And I think if there's any one thing right now that we're seeing in other states that we're not seeing here, is mass distrust of election officials, a sense that they're political, that they're trying to tip the scales, and we really haven't had that experience, and it's why we've been able to make the reforms that we have. And if Jared if Jared were not Jared, I don't know that we would have had that success. So I think that's a real testament to Jared and his impact on our board and his legacy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Those were very nice words. Anybody else?
I would like to say something on behalf of the county clerks.
Jason, thank you. Jason Denny, County Clerk of Anderson County.
It has been a pleasure working with Jared Daring. Jared has been a friend to the association, a mentor to many of us that we continue to keep on speed dial. I've had many late night conversations with Jared while he's driving or I was driving or at home. Jared never failed to call you back. It may have been midnight. It might have been after midnight, but Jared called you back. And as a county clerk, the state board is in a better position today than it was when he came. Not to give any thing negative to any of the former directors that have led the state board, but Jared is a different type of person that has got a way about him I can't explain it. I will always be in debt to Jared Daring and what he has done. The only thing I will say is Jared Daring had an idea that has not gone forward yet, and I hope we can get it. And it's statewide GIS mapping.
That's getting in the weeds, but yes.
So I'm getting into the weeds, but that is one thing that Jared Daring has pushed for and worked toward. And we didn't say come forward. We're going to get it for you, buddy. That's what we're going to deliver on that someday. Just thank you, Jared, for everything you've done for the county clerks and the state in general for the integrity of the election process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jason. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman?
Corey Skolnick.
Sure. I just want to say thank you to Jared. I share a view with Jared, which is each of us who are in our present roles are only here for a certain period of time, and the role belongs to the greater public, and we're here in trust. And so I just want anyone watching to know that your trust has been well placed in Jared. I had the pleasure or displeasure of joining the board in February 2020, a month before COVID.
Congratulations. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do my job without normal onboarding, let alone getting up to speed and having Jared make personal phone calls and providing personal assistance for me to feel like I could do my job in an area where I was prepared to serve, but I didn't have any experience on the board and in a lot of the issues that we were dealing with. And so I want to thank Jared. Even in the middle of a global pandemic, he had one, both the patience, and two, both the time and dedication to his job to make sure I was able to do mine. So I just want to say thank you, Jared.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Corey. Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to say, go ahead. Go ahead.
Whoever.
Okay.
Deanna Branger.
I think I can actually put into words, I think what Jason was struggling to get to, and a good description of Jared is just calm and steady leadership.
Yes.
And that's what he gave to us through everything. And Jason's not kidding. There's a lot of late night phone calls that occurred when Jared was on the road, usually coming back from a county throughout that pandemic. It's just been an honor to be in the trenches with you, Jared. We're going to miss you like crazy. We know you're going to do amazing things, and we will announce a date for a public flogging for you leaving us at a later time. But we are proud of you. We're proud that we got to have you for at least a brief moment in time, and we're looking forward to seeing what you accomplish in the future.
Thank you, Deanna. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you so much, Deanna. Lynn.
Yes, Deanna, I think you said it very well. I just want to say thank you, Jared, for everything that you've done for county clerks and for this board and for the state of Kentucky. I haven't been on the board that long, but I was a county clerk for 41 years and had the privilege of working with you for a while before I retired, and now on the board. And you've done a remarkable job. And I will always be appreciative to you and thank you. And just, I'm like Deanna, I just can't wait to see what else you're going to do. And I know you'll never forget us. And we've got you up. Yeah, we've got you on speed dial, sweetie.
That's
Good
right.
luck, and thank you again for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to say something, of course.
Jerry
Mr.
Whitehouse.
Jared, I am beyond excited for you. So, so deserving. I know, like, I always put stuff into military terms, as I am a veteran of the United States Army. And sometimes, with COVID and just, coming in this board, I think in 2018, I feel like we've been to war and back. So now you are officially one of my war buddies. And one of the things that has always impressed me, from day one and through everything that we've been challenged with and presented with and overcame, was just your level of integrity. And that is a huge one for me. And so I always know when a man can hold up his integrity, that he's going to do very good things. So I wish you all the best, and thank you for all your service to this state and everything. I want to also thank your staff under your leadership, and just I'm looking forward to the future, and I know we'll have some good candidates, and just kudos to you, and God bless you in your next journey.
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate
Thank you so much, Sherry.
I told someone better than you.
All right, we've got Jerry Johnson. Jerry.
I am, as I sit here thinking, I'm one of the most senior in age on the group, but the most junior in tenure. So I came in, I did not get to, for good or bad, experience last year's election as a member of this board, but I watched it from afar and have never been more impressed with the Commonwealth of Kentucky than I was during that process, and all the good work that all of you did, and with Jared at the helm as the executive director. When I came on board, I've spent a lot of my life in public service and have worked in and around the election process a lot. And I have been as impressed with Jared, both technically and professionally as an individual, as anybody I've ever worked with. It's been a real pleasure for me. I appreciate the opportunity that I've had to work with Jared during this period of time. And as many others said, Jared, you just don't block us on the phone, because we may be calling before it's over, but you are most appreciated, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Jared, you've heard from every member of the board, and I think you can see that the feeling is unanimous, a feeling of admiration and a feeling of great warmth. And also the fact that we're all cross with you. Believe it. But be that as it may, your tenure has been very special. It really has. And as Michael said, you came in a time of controversy, you weathered that, and you then led us through a time of incredible difficulty that the election system has never seen before. And you had to help shepherd 120 separate county clerks through a process that they'd never seen before. And it really was just a heroic effort. And I think all of us couldn't be more proud. And we're going to miss you terribly, but we may have to call on you. We may have to do that. But anyway, congratulations, my friend, and Godspeed.
Thank you. If I one last thing, I think one, I just wanted to say thank you. It makes me very uncomfortable, all the things that you've said. I know my mom will be very happy when she watches this. I think she's one of the 3 people that watch our board meetings, but I just wanted to say thank you again. And, if there's one thing that is kind of, it's just always been fixed inside me, which is the idea that you lead with mirrors and windows, that when things go wrong, you look in the mirror, and when things go right, you look through the window to see who's helped you get there. And I think, to me, that has been the biggest benefit for me, that I've had people that I've had the privilege to be able to work with, like you, but I just can't speak enough about the staff and the qualities that they have and the responsibility that they bring every single day. We have several on the call with us right now, but there are others in the office. I won't won't name them all because they're not all on this call right now, but I can't, there's not a single member of this staff that I wouldn't want to be here and do this all over again with. So just thank you again. I appreciate that.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you, Jared. We now need to pursue a way forward. And at this time, I'd like to appoint, if it's all right with everybody, one Republican and one Democrat to lead the effort to see what we can do as to replace Jared. Although I think it's going to be an incredibly difficult task, but I'd like to suggest Deanna Brangers and Jerry Johnson. I'd like to appoint them. And in the spirit of bipartisanship, and this is one of the most important things I think to every single person on this board, is that we be strictly bipartisan. I think that's really been our mantra throughout all of these difficult times. And I couldn't be more proud of everybody's effort to maintain that attitude. And if Deanna and Jerry would lead us in trying to find a replacement, I would appreciate that very much. Would you all be willing to serve?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, great. Is that all right with everybody else?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. That's
Mr.
what
Chairman,
we'll do.
You might take a vote on that just to appoint that committee.
All right. That'll be fine. Do we have a motion to appoint Jerry Johnson and Deanna Brangers to lead the effort to find a replacement for Jared?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Member Whitehouse, second by Member Lane. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Now we'll move on to the next item. Not quite as heart tugging as that item, and that has to do with certifying some election equipment. And Jared, I'm going to turn it over to you to explain what we're about here. And well, before I do that, let me thing I forgot to do, and I usually do, and that is introduce the other staff members on the call. Karen Sellers has been pinch hitting quite a bit for Jared and just done a tremendous job. Karen is with us today. She's the assistant director. And we have Rachel Pointer with us, who handles the money. And we all know how important that is. Does a wonderful job with that. And we've got our IT expert, although he doesn't like to have his camera on very much. I see that Tom Watson's with us, lurking around somewhere. So thank you all for joining the call. I don't see anybody else from the staff, but I certainly see those three. Jared, please carry on.
Thank you, Chairman. So today we'll be asking for a vote to pass certification of ES&S equipment. It is EBS 6.1.1.0 voting system. Ben Schwartz from ES&S is on the call. Ben, are you with us right now?
Yes, I am.
Perfect, thanks. We might call on you if the board has questions.
Sure.
Yep. I thought it might be appropriate just to give the board a quick overview of what you're looking at right now. So this will be certifying a current voting system that is already being utilized in the state. It is a software update. Primarily the update itself, while not de minimis, it does not change the nature of the voting system. However, what it does do primarily is allow voters, when using the ES&S ballot marking device, the Express Vote, it allows them to now put multiple races on one screen. So prior to this update, you would have had to have one race and then scroll to the next page and then vote on that page and then scroll to the next page. So you could hypothetically have 5 to 6 races all on the first page, as long as the candidate list was not that long, which will actually increase the speed in which voters are processing through the ballot station itself. So I will say that I think this is a good innovation that they're providing, and I think it will add value to the system overall, but it is not a large change. It is not a change in the hardware, the firmware. It is just a software update. Ben, would you add anything to that?
No. Another big key feature for this is we migrated to the Windows 10 platform on the operating system, but outside of that, then that pretty much sums up the updates that we're providing here with the 6110 release.
Perfect. And can you specifically say which Windows 10 version that is?
Which Windows 10?
Yeah, is it the software that is the general software, or is it the gosh, my mind's gonna blank on me right now. The version that Windows puts out for corporate, so that there's less changes to the actual operating system itself.
Let me look real quick.
It's okay. We can come back to that. It's
It's professional, I believe.
yeah. So I just wanted to clarify that, because it's not, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about this, and that people think, oh, it's Windows 10. That's the same system that they have on their computer. It is not. It is a platform that Windows makes for corporations that changes less, and they keep in the queue for updates longer past the point when they stop producing it as well.
Yeah, it's Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC.
So long-term service branch.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's important. And I think that, Mr. Chairman, I don't know, I think you and I had discussed earlier about maybe discussing a little bit about how we certify our election equipment, if this is the perfect time for that.
Well, I would like for you to do that, but the main thing I would like for you to do, Jared, is to explain, to sort of give an explanation in lay language as to why the citizens of our state should trust our election equipment. And I think we've seen a number of instances and stories of people spreading mistrust of this equipment, and it's extremely important that our people can trust that when they cast a vote, that vote is properly cast, it's properly counted, and that is done for every individual who's qualified and decides to vote, and that we have a proper and correct outcome. So could you give us just a little bit of an idea as to why, as a regular citizen, I can trust these machines?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in short, I would say that there are multiple controls in place, so that you don't have to just take my word for it. We don't have to take ES&S's word for it. As a board and as the citizens of the Commonwealth, you have an understanding of exactly how the certification process takes place, and that it itself has multiple controls. So so for instance, an ES&S or any other vendor decides that they would want to sell equipment within the Commonwealth, they first have to have it certified by the Elections Assistance Commission at the federal level. The EAC utilizes a system of third-party independent testing laboratories, which are certified by NIST, which is the National Institute for Standards and Technology. These independent third-party testing laboratories will actually break down every component of the voting machine itself. They look at the chipsets, they look at the software, they look at hash validations to ensure that the software code matches the build out the way that it's supposed to be built, and that it does exactly what it said within the specifications. They are testing to the VVSG, which is the Voluntary Voting System Guidelines that the EAC and the Standards Board put forward. So that is just a very quick primer of saying that before it even comes to the Commonwealth, it goes through multiple phases of testing and certification by independent laboratories. So this is not the federal government saying, yes, this equipment works. This is actually independent testing laboratories that will review this equipment and say, yes, it meets the standards, it does what it says it's supposed to do, and we do not see any variance within this system. Once that takes place, a company like ES&S or Hart InterCivic or any other voting system that wants to be certified in the Commonwealth can then submit an application to us, the State Board of Elections. We then have our own certification process. We bring it in, we have two professionals who understand election law and election process, as well as a third individual who is a security expert. We utilize an individual from the Commonwealth Office of Technology. They'll review that for multiple processes to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do, that it meets all the standards set forth by state regulations and law, and that it also meets security standards. So in between the time that it was certified from the EAC to now, are there any known vulnerabilities that have come up? And then we expect those to be addressed by the company itself. So that is a very short kind of primer of how the equipment itself is certified. But let me say a couple things, because I think it's incredibly unfortunate that there are some individuals in this state that are going around telling people just outright misinformation. And what I'm going to say is not my subjective opinion. It is an objective fact that can be shown to be true. And I think that's the why our systems can be trusted, is because it's not subjective. It is objective. You can actually examine the equipment and see that it is built to the way that it's supposed to be built. So in Kentucky, we do not allow our equipment to be connected to the internet in any form or fashion. If it is a voting equipment machine, if you are casting a ballot on it, if it is marking a ballot, if you are tabulating a vote count, it is not connected to the internet. Not only is it not connected to the internet, it does not even have the capacity to be connected to the internet. So this equipment that specifically even today that we're certifying, and all of the equipment that we've certified that is currently in use in the Commonwealth, does not have the capacity to be connected to the internet. And I think where some of the misinformation is coming from is individuals are taking information from other states. And in other states, some states legislatures have said that it is okay for them to connect in limited capacity to send back election results. So a company like ES&S or HART or other Dominion or any other voting system that's made out there, they will have separate build outs. So in Kentucky, we do not allow this equipment in our state. So unfortunately, what they're doing is they're going around telling everyone that, hey, this state has equipment that's being made by this company, so we can tell you definitively that must mean Kentucky has it. That is the same analogy of saying that Georgia has 3 weeks of early voting, which must mean that Kentucky has 3 weeks of early voting. We do not. Every state runs its elections a little bit differently. And in the Commonwealth, we do not certify election equipment that has the capacity to be connected to the internet. And unfortunately, these individuals are using this misinformation to spread distrust within our system, unfortunately. And I think Secretary Adams has done a really valiant job of going out and educating individuals. I know he's on a regular basis traveling around the Commonwealth. And I would actually defer to you if you have any other kind of statement about that. But like I can't say it enough times. And I know Clerk Denny has also said it before the legislature. Our equipment is not connected to the internet in any way, nor does it have the capacity to be connected to the internet in any way.
All right. Thank you for that explanation. Does anybody have anything to add, Mr. Secretary? Would you like to add anything to that?
I would, thanks. This will count as my report for this month.
Okay,
I wasn't gonna talk about this because ironically, on the one hand, I want to combat misinformation. I think that's something people in public service should do. On the other hand, the more you talk about it, the more they win by getting more attention. So it's a delicate balance, but the cat's out of the bag, and I feel like I should respond as well. Last week, I was in Owenston speaking to the Rotary Club, and as it happened, there was a person there who attended whose job it is. He's a journalist, and one of his jobs on election night is to drive around his county and check all the tapes that the poll workers have put up from their counts of their machines, and then add those up and get them back to I think it was the Associated Press. And he actually worked out perfectly to be in that meeting, because I was asked about how votes are counted and how they're reported. And a point that I tried to make then, and I want to make here as well, is there's a reason that on election night, and I'm guilty of this too, I flip channels and try to find the station that has the quickest count and the freshest numbers, instead of checking our own website and looking there. The reason that we count slower and they count faster is they want to be first and we want to be correct. Those votes are not, those counts are not official counts. Those are basically press reports, sometimes estimates, and they're frequently wrong. And to their credit, the media correct those things when they're wrong. but it's being done live without a net. And so sometimes that information is wrong and has to be corrected. The important point is the media don't have a cord that hooks into our election machines and gets an immediate count. There is no such cord. It's kind of hokey, but the way that we count votes in our state is we've got bipartisan poll workers at every precinct. They zero out their machines, they get a count. They report those counts to their bipartisan county board of elections, the sheriff, the county clerk, a Democrat and a Republican in every county. And that all happens at each of those stages. There has to be unanimous certification, a unanimous statement by each of these groups to the next level up, that's the count. I think it'd be pretty tough to have fraud where you've got people at the polling level and people at the county level and people at the state level, all of whom by law have to be bipartisan to try to somehow rig an election. This misinformation tour is saying that we somehow, for some reason, flipped 88,000 votes away from one candidate to another candidate. Well, that's pretty ludicrous. I don't see how that could be done, but even if it could, why the heck would we do that in a state that the other candidate won by about 25 points? Why would all of us risk imprisonment to change an election result and not change the outcome of the election? It's just, it's fruitcake. So not to filibuster, but one thing I get over and over again, and I know you all do too, that I want to try to put a pin in is this notion that the election machines flipped the election for governor in the last cycle. And the sole basis for this argument is someone was watching some network and the numbers flipped. All that means is that someone mistyped a number who works for that TV station. That's all that means. Again, no one has a cord. There's no internet connection. There's no plug-in. There's no nothing that's transmitting these returns to China or frankly to me. It doesn't exist. You can look at this yourself. We actually have had constituents file open records requests and come in and look at this. In every single instance, you've got to have unanimous set of poll workers and unanimous county board of elections. They send that to us, and then we look at it and we run our own counts. Sometimes there are mistakes. Human beings make mistakes, but it's never been a mistake that could actually throw an election. We've had recanvasses pretty much every cycle that I can remember. It's never changed the outcome of an election. So we have safeguards in place. The chairman talked about those. Jared talked about those. We want clean elections. Both sides want clean elections. We want to fight it out on policies. And that's how we have elections in our state. We don't have them through hacking of the internet. These things aren't on the internet, and it just can't be done. I'll give the mic back.
I think
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. That was a great explanation that you both made. And of course, I just think it's incumbent upon us, quite frankly, to continue to assure the general public that our elections can be relied upon. They may not come out the way we all want them to come out. I can assure you that I didn't agree with a lot of the results. I would have preferred a different result, but I do have confidence that the result that we got accurately reflected the way our people voted. And that's what you want in an election. Does anybody else have anything that they want to say on this particular subject?
Mr. Chairman, if I could real quick before you throw it out, I just wanted, there's one last piece here because we've talked about all the certification process up and how the election equipment is brought to us and then brought to the counties. But there's one key factor I think that the public is missing here that I think is really important because no one really takes advantage of this, which is logic and accuracy testing before every single election. And what I mean by that is that prior to every single election in every single county throughout the entire Commonwealth, before the election, the county clerk and the county board of election will open up the election equipment and they will certify that the software and the ballots that are being loaded onto the equipment operate as expected. So they actually run through an entire ballot, an entire election cycle to make sure that that machine is operating and working as it's supposed to be working. And I will say that over the 5 years that I've been here, every single election will receive a phone call from someone that says, hey, I just tried to vote for X person on this machine and it wouldn't let me vote for that person. And that must be because they're rigging the machines. And every single time, we take that in, and because it's important, we have to look at that to make sure that it is, if that is the case, then we have to figure out what's going on there. And every single time that has taken place, we've gone in, we've looked at that, and we can see through the logic and accuracy testing that was incorrect and that it was user error. Someone was having an issue with how they were casting their ballot, because we could then go in and actually see that the ballot completely showed and allowed every candidate to be selected and voted for. And I know Clerk Denny does this every single election cycle, and it is an important part of the process. But here's the most important part. It is open to the public. Anyone in the public can go and view this and watch the logic and accuracy testing, and they can see how these ballots are being loaded onto the machine, and they can see how the county board interacts with these processes as well.
Chairman Chandler,
Yes, Mr. Denny.
one thing I will say at the end, the votes are not official until all 4 members of local boards hand write on a form the totals of each candidate or question that have been voted on, and we all sign off on and send that piece of paper to the state, to the Secretary of State's office, to the state board, to certify that result. That's when it becomes official at the county level, and then the state board certifies those. So whether we send, however the news media or everybody else gets their count, which is unofficial, it is not official until that piece of paper signed by all 4 board members, nonpartisan, send that to the state. And that is where it becomes official.
And that happens 120 times, separate times in Kentucky.
Yes, sir.
And none of those 120 counties are connected to each other, are they?
No, sir.
So instead of holding one election statewide, we hold essentially 120 separate, completely separate elections.
Yes, sir.
If you go down to the precinct level, it's over 3,000, which means that you also have 16,000 poll workers that would also have to be in on this. And I think that's what Secretary Adams was kind of expressing earlier, which is the scale and scope of the controls that we have in place, that you have Democrats and Republicans in every single polling location that have to sign their actual name to that tape to make sure that it is correct and that they authorize it and say, yes, this is what we saw today in the election cycle. And the other important part is that over the last 5 years, we've also upgraded every single county in the Commonwealth to be on a paper-based system. That means it's leaving a voter verified paper audit trail at the end of that process that we can go in and hand count those ballots. Now, we're still in the middle of that process. As a matter of fact, we'll be talking later today about some funding to the counties to be able to continue that purchase process. But in every single county, they are primarily using a paper-based system. So, Mr. Chairman, that is to your question. And if you want to throw it to anyone else on the board, but we also have the certification of this equipment. And I know Mr. Schwartz has been kind enough to come today. So
yes, I hope Mr. Schwartz has enjoyed this conversation.
I have.
Anyway, I think it ought to be clear to anybody who's listening to this that we have so many safeguards in place. It's just really quite remarkable. And I can't think of almost any other undertaking in our entire society with as many safeguards to make sure that we come out with the proper result. With that, we have to, as you say, Jared, we have to authorize this election equipment. And the staff, I understand, has looked at this very closely and is recommending authorization. Do any members of the board have any questions about the equipment before I ask for the vote?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I'm pretty familiar with this system specifically, and this is a welcome improvement. If you can add multiple races to one screen, it will drastically speed up those ballot marking devices. So it is a very welcome improvement.
Great. Anybody else have any question or comment about this equipment? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the equipment?
So move.
Motion by member Johnson. Do I have a second?
Second.
second by member Brangers. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Very good. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
All right, our next item on the agenda is to approve the county plans for the upcoming election. As we all know, this year is supposed to be an off year for elections. It's the one off year that we are supposed to have in every 4-year cycle. And of course, it is not an off year because we have special elections that we've got to deal with. We've got 3 special elections coming up, and I will let the staff, we need to approve the plans of the counties involved in those elections. I think there are about 10 counties involved, and I'll let the staff explain this further. Jared?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we present to you today 10 plans from 10 counties. The staff has been fairly diligent in discussing with the counties kind of what some of the expectations are. I will say that in a training we had several months ago with the KCCA, one of the things that we asked for was when they were building these plans out, that they really take into consideration the equitable nature of distance to polling location, so that no one location within the county is overtaxed in the sense of having to drive further than another part that would dissuade voters from participating fully as compared to one of their neighbors. I think these plans do a fair job of that and an effective job of making sure access to the ballot is conforming across the county. There were a couple of counties that we went back and asked to increase some of the voting locations just to ensure that. But we are expecting, unfortunately, we're expecting low turnout for these elections. I wish it was higher. I wish it was always higher. But I think the plans that they've submitted will effectuate a good election and a fair election. That being said, if there are any specific questions about the plans themselves, I know Karen, who was intimately involved in discussing a lot of these plans with the counties, would be more than happy to discuss it. It's been in your possession now for a little over a week, and I know that we've had a couple of questions and we've been able to answer that and rectify some of those as well. So I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
And for the benefit of the public, could you tell us, we've got 3 special elections. Could you tell the public what those elections are?
Karen, you want to go ahead and walk through some of the counties?
So the one is Senate District 22. Those counties would be Jessamine, Washington, Garrett, Fayette only has 9 precincts as part of that, and Mercer. House District 51.
And that, Karen, excuse me, opened up as a result of the death of Senator Tom Buford.
Yes, sir. Exactly. And House District 51, that was opened up due to the passing of Representative Bam Carney recently, and that is Adair County and Taylor County. House District 89 opened up due to a resignation of their representative, who Representative Goforth, that represented Jackson County, 9 precincts in Laurel, and 10 precincts in Madison.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about the election plans that have been sent in by the counties?
Mr. Chairman, we will also be placing these, once the board approves these, we will be placing these online for anyone to be able to review and see for themselves. The counties will also be notifying their citizens of the polling locations and where where they can effectively vote as well.
And as a result of the call of the governor, the governor is the person who, in our scheme, in our governing scheme, has the responsibility for setting the dates of a special election, and he has set the dates for these special elections all on the same day, and that's the first Tuesday in November. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody on the board have any questions or comments about this?
No.
All right, I will accept the motion to approve these plans.
I make that motion.
Motion by member Lane. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by member Skolnick. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you all very much. Now we will move to the financial report, and I will turn it over to Rachel Pointer. Rachel, you're up.
Good morning. I will keep it short and sweet for you guys. Not a lot happening last month. We did see the only real increase was our on the first page of operating our computer services. COT does not elicit a charge in July because they pay in arrears. So we pay that at the end of June for June. So we didn't see a cost in July. That is a considerable one. The IT staff is working on lowering that. So we're hoping over the next several months that we can integrate new processes and make that lower. The only other charges for grants are contractor costs, and we've accrued some interest. And we are starting to, you'll see on the interest page under section 130L, we are starting to pay our state match out of that account for any expenses that occur for the security grants. So that's where those transactions will come from. And your summary page just offers just a total of everything that's going on there. So nothing major right now. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi, Rachel. I've got one.
Sure.
Are we doing another list maintenance mailing this year? And if so, which account does that come out of?
I anticipate that the cost of the list maintenance, whatever that may be, if it does come out, if it's 50,000 or less, we can pay that out of our general admin and support because that is counted as true program income. So that would be our best account to make that payment from.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? You all got the figures in front of you. I assume that you are okay with them. And with that, Rachel, we will accept your report. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, and I don't know if you've got anything to add to some of the things you've already said, but Jason, it's your time to talk for the county clerks. And you're muted still.
On behalf of President Chris Cockrell, he is on a tour with his sons today, a college tour, getting them ready for the upcoming college experience. So he apologizes for not being here, and he told me this gives me practice for next year. So on behalf of the County Clerks Association, we thank the state board for everything you're doing for us. We're working alongside the state board, and I know we'll be working beside Karen and Taylor and Jared's replacement to move Kentucky forward as we move into potential vote centers and give the experience that the voters deserve. So thank you all for everything you do for us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jason. And the feeling is mutual. Thank you all for all of the work that you all do on the county level throughout this state. It just means a great deal to all of us.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Secretary, you said you've already given your report, but since you're on the agenda, I'll give you another shot if you want one.
Well, here's a limited encore. I just want to reassure people, the people that run your elections are the people that you know. They're people that you go to church with. They're people that you see at Kroger. They're people you went to high school with. It's not just distant figures on Zoom here that are running your elections. It's your own people in your own community. If you have questions, obviously call the board or call our office, the Secretary of State's office, but you can also ask your county clerk. You can ask the people that you know that are poll workers, and they'll verify every single thing that we've said. So if you have trouble trusting people in Frankfurt, trusting authority figures, big government or whatever, okay, that's fine. But talk to people in your community. That's all. Thank you.
And Mr. Secretary, thank you for those words. I think they're very, very appropriate and on point. That really was a nice thing to say, and I think so very true. This is a system that devolves down to the local level, and local people are in charge of it. So thank you very much. Jared, you have had a lot to say already. You want to say more?
No, I don't, other than to actually have a little bit of business.
Well, will this be under other business then?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, very good. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were, my apologies. So I would like to bring to the board's attention, we've been working with the counties and working with Secretary Adams and EAC to take what money we have left over from both the security grant as well as interest-bearing accounts from the original HAVA grants. Our hope is that we can do two things with these monies. Is one, take one tranche of it would be roughly $5 million, and we will set that aside for the State Board of Elections, specifically for the voter registration system. That will give us a 4-year runway to make sure that we have the next 4 years of capacity to be able to pay for our needs in securing and maintaining the voter registration system, which is obviously one of the more key critical functions of the board. And also it would leave us a little bit of money left over for other projects in case they did come up, kind of a rainy day fund. And that would be a little less than $1 million. What would be remaining would be roughly about $8 million. And Rachel is currently working with OSBD on kind of what the proportion would be. But what I would like to do today is bring that to the board's attention and see if we can't get a preliminary vote just to allow us to move forward with basically the splitting of those monies in that fashion. So the goal would be is that by next month, we would be able to bring back a very specific number for the county. So the $5 million roughly setting aside for the county or for the State Board of Elections, we'll just set aside. We don't need much with that. That'll just be an ongoing account that we can draw down from. But the other $8 million roughly, we would like to bring back to the board for ratification and approval of how we expend that money out directly to the counties. Our recommendation, staff recommendation right now is that we allow counties that are going to be purchasing election equipment in this next year or have purchased election equipment in the last several years that have updated them to be paper audit trail compliant systems. We still have some counties that were on paper-based systems, but they were using equipment that was roughly 15 to 18 years old. That goes back to the original HAVA grant from 2004. Those counties obviously need to be updated as well. We have asked the counties to send us a request notifying us that they intend to draw down on this grant. The only counties that we will not be directly giving money to right now are the counties in which we gave and purchased election equipment for during the pandemic election. We used CARES funds for that. It was a fairly significant amount of money. And we were able to bring up every single county in the Commonwealth to be on the paper-based system, which is what we talked about earlier. So moving forward, what we'd like to do is continue to replace older equipment that is at the end of its life cycle. But also there are a few counties that are using what are we call DREs or non-paper-based systems. And they're using those primarily for disabled voters that come in that have to have ADA compliant systems within the precinct locations. Those counties we want to completely convert so that there is not a single ballot being cast on anything other than a paper audit trail record. That will also allow us to begin to pilot risk limiting audits within the system in the next election cycle. To sum up, and this will be what I will ask the board for a vote for today, is to give staff permission to continue discussions with OSBD and to determine exactly how we will divvy out roughly $8 million to the counties. And then we will come back with that plan at next month for full ratification.
Okay, so you would like the board to authorize the staff to produce a plan as to how to spend these HAVA dollars and present them to the board.
It'll be, so the plan itself will be roughly what I've laid out, which is either reimbursing counties that have purchased election equipment in the last several years, or counties that plan to purchase election equipment this year.
Right.
If a county is saying, hey, we're going to purchase election equipment, but 3 years from now, that will not be eligible for this round of funding. We are going to.
But you're going to produce a plan for us and a formal plan that we can look at and make a decision on.
Correct. Yes. But I think it's also important that we signal to the county clerks that this is a process that's happening this month, so that they can appropriately notify us and let us know that they'll be drawing down on these. Like I said, we've already communicated with all the counties, given them several opportunities to be able to notify us that they will be intending to draw down these grants. But I think it's also important that we can now, with board approval, go in and start to actually divvy up exactly what the proportion would be per precinct for each one of the counties that is requesting the grant.
Well, I would think you'd want to consult the counties before you put the plan together.
That's
so,
correct. Yes.
Yeah, I know that's a minor detail, but you know,
I mean, we've been in discussion with counties already, but yes, I mean,
right,
formalized and approved, and we'll work with KCCA to have that.
It might help inform the plan that you're going to present to us. Does anybody have any questions about what Jared's asking us to do?
I think I will, just for clarity's sake, restate what you just said, Mr. Chairman. As I understand it, in general terms, you will be proposing back to us in writing what you just verbally provided to us for us to consider for a final action at our next meeting.
Correct. Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. It'll be the exact amount of money. So not only the $5 million set aside for the board and the voter registration system, it'll be the exact amount, roughly $8 million, that we'll be able to pass down to the counties. It'll be what counties and how those monies will be divvied up per precinct within each county itself.
So you're going to want us to approve the plan and the expenditure of this money.
Yes.
At the next meeting, preferably. And you all are going to put the plan in front of us.
That's correct. Yes.
That's very good. Anybody else have any questions about this? All right, I'll accept a motion to authorize the staff to come up with a plan to present to the board for the expenditure of these HAVA dollars. Do I have
I'll make that motion.
Motion by member Lane. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Second by member Skolnick. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, very good. You're authorized, Jared.
And Mr. Secretary, we'll work with you directly as well prior to the plan being sent to the board, since you have to authorize this as well.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any other business? We have one other item on the agenda, and that is to go into executive session to talk about a security matter. We are not going to do that today. That can wait, and we will do that at another meeting. So all we've got left to do is to confirm our next meeting. And that will be, if no one objects to it, on October 19th, 2021 at 10 a.m. And we will continue to meet by Zoom. All right. With that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by member Johnson, second by member Brangers. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.